Guess who we've located again? Got Hosanna Banana, just laying in the grass. Well, I'm sure it's Hosanna. And we've been driving around trying to figure out where he's gone. And we drove the last spot, and then we drove up Shirombe, which is a road here on Chitwa. And then we picked up his tracks in the Mulwanini, which is another dry riverbed. And then I thought, okay, he's going back towards Chitwa Lodge. Perhaps he checked in for, lunch, maybe. And then we could hear a squirrel alarming, and then the Inyala started alarming. And between Seb and I going up and down the Mulwanini about 10 times, eventually Seb managed to spot him in the long grass. So it was quite funny, actually. I think he actually saw me getting out of the car, and he didn't move. I mean, he hasn't even lifted his head up since we've been here either. Yeah, have a look at this. How cool is this? So, obviously you might be able to hear the odd alarm call happening, and it's being created by these critters over here. They know he's here. They definitely know he's here. They were all standing looking at him earlier. I'm going to sit quietly just to see if you can hear them barking. There we go. You can just sort of hear it quite faintly. So they're not doing a serious bark anymore like they were. Hopefully, for Hosanna, because it doesn't look like he's caught anything since we saw him this morning, we'll be able to creep up on these and re-stalk them a bit later. At the moment, he's not interested, especially when they are alarm calling like this. He knows he stands no chance whatsoever in catching them, because every time an antelope knows that there's a leopard around and knows exactly where they are too, they will be able to get away. They're faster, they're more athletic, they can keep that speed up for quite some time. But it's really beautiful. Massive herd of Inyala. Right, let's quickly go across to Tumba. He's taking on some elephants. Well, actually, we have to correct ourselves now. Guess what? And I bet it's going to be the best correction I've ever done in all the silly things that I've done. Because it's not Hosanna. It's indeed Tinga Banana. It's Tingana, everybody. And I know we had an incredible sighting of Hosanna this morning, so that's fantastic. It couldn't have actually gone any better, in fact. So to now have Tingana around, because I know you've all been very worried about him and his condition, is fantastic. He's laying in the grass, and he moved his head slightly, and Ari was sitting on the other side. Ari is one of the guides at Nkoro. And he said, it's not Hosanna, it's Tingana. He was also just as excited as we were, well, because his guests get to see a different leopard now too. But also, again, just like you were concerned about his health, all of the guides here in the Northern Sabi Sand that have had the pleasure of meeting Tingana are, of course, also worried about him. But he seems fine for now. It's difficult to tell how fat or how thin he is when he's laying in the grass. I mean, we could barely identify him. Laying like this. It's just as soon as we got to see those ears a bit better, you can clearly see that they have been bitten away at flies, probably been torn in fights as he's been attempting to defend his territory. So that's exciting. Now, here's an interesting question. Lynn, you're wondering, how long can a leopard go without it being spotted by us? Well, I think I've drove past Tingana maybe, I don't know, a couple of times before we realized that he was even in here. We had all the signs. We did have tracks, but I don't think they were his footprints, in fact. I'm convinced they were still Hosanna's tracks. They didn't look very big, and they were in the sand too. So when animals walk in sand or in mud, their feet tend to splay a little bit more, making that track larger, and they still didn't look too big. And Tingana's got decent-sized feet. So we could still see Hosanna around somewhere, if we're lucky. And obviously their coloration on their bodies is designed for camouflage. So they're really good at concealing themselves. And that grass is not particularly tall either. It's just that Sebastian is looking down on him. I reckon the length of that grass is, some of the pieces are maybe as sort of high as my knee, maybe a foot. And that's about it. And he's been able to completely conceal himself in that, which is pretty amazing. So, I mean, we've walked past, I can't tell you how many leopards I've probably walked past and didn't even realize they're there. I always wish that at the end of a safari, I could get a tally of how many lions and leopards I've driven past, you know, like a video game type of thing. which would be quite entertaining, because I reckon we shock ourselves as to how many times we've driven past some of the bigger cats, or even just kudu and inyala standing still in the bush, all of them. But our leopard is very sleepy, and I don't blame him, but we're going to sit here until he decides to wake up and maybe go for a drink at Chitwa Dam. Tamba, however, has got a spring in his step this afternoon. He's on the move. Well, the closest thing I've heard to a trumpeter hornbill in the northern Sabi Sands is probably Brent. And I bet you're all excited because he's coming back to work tomorrow, so that's quite nice. But Tingana's still fairly fast asleep. He did twitch his tail at one point, which was very exciting. We all jumped for joy and we all wanted to start clapping, but of course we don't do that when we're sitting next to leopards. But he's just enjoying a snooze. And I wonder where he's come from. And I wonder if he was maybe here the whole morning and we just didn't see him. I can't imagine that he would have, though, because it was exceptionally warm today. It was 36 degrees Celsius. Let me see if I can remember. 96 degrees Fahrenheit, I think the conversion is. And I can't imagine that a cat would want to sit out in the baking sun all day. So perhaps he was just further in the Mulwanini. Maybe he has trade places. Maybe Hosana has gone into Torchwood now, and Tingana came out of Torchwood. They did a bit of a switcheroo. Of course, Hosana does need to be very careful. He needs to tread lightly in this area, because even though Tingana is, well, his suspected father, he's not going to tolerate him for too much longer. So it's best that he keeps out of Tingana's way and just sort of moves in between when he can. But it is starting to cool down now. What is the time? Where's my mobile device? Oh, there it is. 22:06. So it's getting cool, and thank goodness for the cloud cover. So it is going to get a lot darker than it normally does, so that could be good news for us. In fact, I believe you're all now very excited and not even watching the leopard anymore. We're all just talking about Brent. Hey, Tingana's the star of the show here. No, we're all very excited to have Brent back in camp. And perhaps he'll be able to call the trumpeter hornbills back. I have actually seen the trumpeter hornbills at WildEarthTV Dam once. It was a very brief sighting, though. You don't normally see them up here. They like big fig trees and fruit. The only real fruit trees we've got that a trumpeter hornbill will enjoy the jackalberries. But down in the massive dry riverbeds down in the south, so like the Sand and the Sabi River, or the Mtsutlu, or the Tsovaklatla, some more down in the southwestern corner of the Sabi Sands, there's huge big fig trees. And if you go to them, it was one of my favorite things to do in the afternoon. During the heat of the day, obviously it's nice and shady, nice and cool. You would find African green pigeons, you'd see go-away birds, you'd see purple-crested tarocos, and then, of course, as well as the trumpeter hornbills, all feeding on the fruits that were in the tree. Some of them have been knocked down to the ground, so they'd be down on the ground pecking at those too. A few birds just giving a squawk here and there, encouraging Tingana to twitch his ears. Hopefully he'll get up. We haven't seen too much movement, I'm afraid. So he is tired, and I would like to see what he looks like. Monique, you're wondering if the grass is damp? It would have been this morning. Now, however, I'm almost certain that it has dried out in the sun. So no, it's not damp anymore. Maybe if he was sweating a little bit, perhaps, but I don't think so. Nice spot, though, that he's got there. It's probably quite cozy, like sitting on top of a blanket. But we'll be patient enough to hopefully see him get up and go on the move. I expect him to go down towards at least some form of watering hole, and I suppose Chitwa Dam is the closest to have a drink after this very hot day. And, well, speaking of dams, it seems as though Tamba is on his way to one. Oh, well, not Hosana. Tingana finally shuffled about slightly, and we have a better view of him. He's looking a little bit on the scruffy side, don't you think? Looks like he hasn't groomed himself properly in a long while, or at least a little bit on the lazy side. But he did roll over, and he doesn't look too thin either, which was quite nice. Looks like he's definitely put on weight since I last saw him, so that's fantastic. It seems as though, even though he's forgotten to brush his hair, he looks a little bit better. Anna Marie, you were just wondering that, if I thought that he looked a bit thin. Of course, it is hard to tell as he lays here in the long grass, but once he gets up, we'll have a better idea. But for now, it does show no signs of him getting up just yet. But you might be able to hear there's crested francolins, there were guinea fowls, there were quite a few other birds all starting to give their last call for the evening. And perhaps it's Tingana's alarm clock, so maybe he'll be waking up from his slumber and going on a little bit of a mission. It's also now starting to cool down nicely. There's a lovely breeze. It's very gentle though, but definitely noticeable. Now, there are 7 billion people in the world that experience today in a different way. I'd like to know from all of you, how did you experience today? What was your highlight? Hashtag Safari Live, let us know. Or you can also tell us via the YouTube chat. Mine, of course, was spending both morning and afternoon safari with 2 different leopards. I think that's a great way. And I don't think there are many people in the world that can say that Sebastian and I, have sat with leopards for almost 6 hours today.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome, hey? Maybe not quite, maybe close to 5 hours, but pretty special indeed. So I look forward to hearing your highlights of the day. And of course, from all different locations all over the world. It's pretty spectacular too. So now I will wait awkwardly and I'll just stare at you while you type. Was that your stomach?
No.
Was that not your stomach?
No. What was that sound?
I also heard it. I heard a weird noise,
Yeah.
and I thought it was Seb's tummy. I thought he was hungry.
Unless it didn't fit it.
Maybe I stared so hard that there's another leopard that was scared and got a fright and ran away.
Maybe somehow planned it.
I wonder. I'm still convinced Hosana's around here. Cheryl, you've said that leopards for you as well. I suppose yes, if you were watching it. But what I actually want to know, not Cheryl, Michelle. My bad. Apologies. I'm going deaf in my right ear now from the directors talking to me in it all the time. Just joking. Kirsty's going on holiday tomorrow, so thankfully we'll be peace and quiet in camp. And no fighting. I'm, of course, talking absolute nonsense. She's unfortunately one of my favorite people in camp. So that's why I give her such a hard time all the time. And if you could only hear all the things that she says to me, sometimes I can't even repeat them. She's too evil. And of course she's not evil. We just tease her and tell her that she's the red-headed ice queen. Emma, you said Safari Live. Bing, 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 bing. You win the prize, which is you get to see Tingana again. There we go. How's that, Emma? Hey? Well done. I'm glad that you chose Safari Live. 10 brownie points to you. The rest of you that said something else, you better go back and change your answers. No, I'm just teasing. Right, let's very quickly go across to see where Scott is Ferrari safaring to. I feel like flat jacks? Who knows? Well, not one of them. We have 2 sets of flat cats. Thank goodness Tumba was up and moving around a little bit. Oh, hello. Very exciting stuff. A lick of the paw. Come on, now a big yawn. Twitch of the whisker. Twitch of the ear. He's listening to all the birds now. You can see his ears are actually pricked up. Sally in Oregon, you said that your highlight is the fact that the sun is shining. I like that one. That's a good positive to take into account. That's very nice. I'm hoping that there's a pair of fork-tailed drongos that are mimicking pearl-spotted owlets at the moment. You might be able to hear them every now and then. You hear that? But that's not the pearl-spotted owlets, the drongos, having a good laugh. I bet it's like Steve as he tried to mimic the Shelley's Franklin. It's the equivalent, isn't it? And it's very, very nice. Oh, and the sun is set. Shall we have a look at the different colours in the sky? What do you think, Seb? Change it up a little bit. Because it's very quiet here with Tingana as he sleeps. He's getting older now. He doesn't need to catch up on his sleep. Isn't that pretty with all the marula trees lining the open plains of Chitwa? Beautiful pinks, a few purples and blues. I mean, listen, we have seen better sunsets, but we'll take this one. It's still quite nice. It was exceptional at one point, but we're just sitting too low. I've been told that apparently I'm not descriptive enough with my colour, so Kirsten has described the sky. I think she needs to put her glasses on, though, because she's used the rose as a colour to describe the sky, and silver. Do you see any of those colours in the sky, Sebastian?
Rose? Yes. Silver? No.
What colour is the rose here? Because when I think of rose, I think red. Does anyone else agree, or am I just going crazy? Rose is pink.
Yeah.
A pinkish colour.
Pinkish, a light pink.
Okay, fine, we can get rose. Not salmon. Kirsten, there's no silver in the sky. I promise you there's not even a cloud with a silver lining today. Full of lame jokes. Full all the time, all the corny jokes. There we go. I still can't believe we drove past him so many times without seeing him here in the grass. Quite funny, in fact. The camouflage of a leopard in the bright green grass, it even works. Now, all we're waiting for is Hosanna to come walking on by, or perhaps an elephant or a buffalo or something, to stir him out of the grass. And the Inyala are not going to come trampling over him. They've moved in the complete opposite direction. They've actually moved up into the open area, sort of where we were looking at the sunrise, the sunset, just to give you an idea. Hello, big boy. Welcome to the party. And that's, of course, because they don't want to be anywhere near these small shrubs and long grass, because Tingana can conceal himself quite nicely and stalk towards them and eat them. So they'll go up to where the shorter grass is. Are you waking up? Not yet. We're getting there, though. I think maybe another 10 to 15 minutes before he wakes up properly. He's only just started, or maybe not. Please prove me wrong, Tingana, please. Hello, boy. Hello, pretty boy. Give it a little bit of light, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Is that a bit better?
Yes.
I don't want to go into infrared just yet. I want to see how beautiful his coat is.
Yeah.
He's looking good. He's looking really, really good. Much better. Again, just a slight improvement, and that's better than nothing. I mean, he's not super fat. You definitely put a bit more weight on. But you just, where are you going? Behind the car? Tinky, please go catch an Inyala. I really want you to catch one. He's walking right past Sebastian. He's coming around, creeping around the other side now. Look at that. Now you got to do full.
I think that's the legs.
If you could only see the position that Sebastian, let me just tell you, these cameramen, that's Seb's shoulder that you just saw. For once, it's not my hat. Do you want to do a full swing around? You're allowed to do a full swing around.
Almost.
Sebastian.
And there we are.
Oh, what has he got? No, wait, look here. What's this?
I need to swing back.
We're coming back round. He's found something. What have you found in the grass there? I'm just going to reposition slightly and put this light on. No, that one, this light doesn't work. Okay, he's eating something, but I'm going to go forward. We know Tingana doesn't mind the car moving around. Is it a tortoise? I'm going to have to call Shania Wales Bailey back into the sighting as well. I'm going to have to give you a spotlight, I'm afraid, Seb. Let me turn the lights off. Spotlight. Just a little bit of light. I'm going to get the radio and find out where Shania is, because she asked me to call her. Shania for Tayla. Might be having a sundowner now. I don't know what he's got there, but it's not much of a meal. Whatever it may be. The way it's crunching like that, it's either going to be something like with small bones, maybe a bird or a tortoise or a terrapin. Tingana, you should not be eating those things. Can you see what that is yet, Seb?
Not really, no.
It's hard, eh?
Dark, but
I think it is a tortoise.
sounds like it, yeah.
Sounds like it. Is that what it sounded like when the last time you ate a tortoise? Carly said a tortoise snack, perhaps. We're still trying to figure it out. Or a terrapin. It looks quite dark. I mean, you can listen to the crunching. No. The bone of sorts. Tingana, I don't know what you're eating, boy. Matt, you said it looks like an old bone. Yeah, it could quite well be an old bone, in fact. It's bizarre. I don't know. I don't think it's from his kill. I think he literally just walked and he picked it up. I mean, I'm pretty sure we would have seen him if he was on our kill here, because there were lots of vehicles that have driven up and down the Mulonidi. Ivy's got a sense of humour this afternoon. You say that Tingana is eating Doritos. Perhaps. What flavour? Leftover buffalo?
And that's the shell of a tortoise.
It is the shell of a tortoise.
I think.
You think so? That's what Seb's going with. Is that your final answer? Would you like to phone a friend? No? Anyways, it's not a good meal for him. But if he is feeling a little bit under the weather, like we see with young leopards that haven't quite mastered the art of bringing down big prey, he's just going to take whatever he can get. I went Australia there, or New Zealand. Whatever he can get. I don't even know what accent I was doing there. And the other personalities are now coming out. So, even if it is just a little bit of a meal, you know, like a little snack, a little energy bar, that's okay. That's fine. It's better than nothing, I suppose. But it is nice to see him up. Can we go? Is it okay if we go into infrared? Seb, how do you feel? I don't want to put actually.
We can.
Cool. We're going to change. Final control. Are you ready to go into infrared? Well, too late. We've gone into it. There we are. We've gone into infrared, everybody. Now he can eat in peace. I just wanted to see the coloration on whatever he was devouring, and now I'm shuffling in my seat because I'm uncomfortable, so I'm trying to get comfortable again. It doesn't smell very nice, that's for sure. Is that are those not teeth? There. Can you see what I'm looking at, Seb?
No. Did you see teeth?
I thought I saw a tooth. But I could be mistaken, though. I'm trying to look on the monitor.
Then it's not a tortoise.
It's not a tortoise. Sebastian has retracted his statement earlier.
No, I'm saying if it's got a tooth.
If it's got a tooth, then yes. Here's Shanae. Shanae for Taylor. You're welcome to come back now. He's up. He's eating something that we have no idea what it is. You can maybe come and help us identify it. He's maybe an old tortoise or an old bone. There we go. I think Shanae's guests have been very excited to see Tingana, and all they saw was a flat cat like we've been sort of sitting with. But we kept our patient pants on, and they paid off. Wonderful. Shame boy. I'm hoping he's going to catch something a bit more substantial. Sinak, you're wondering how strong are leopard's teeth? Well, tough enough to break through the shells of tortoises, to crunch small bones, and a variety of other things, and be able to tear through thick hide of the animals that they feast upon. So not so bad, in fact. However, I suppose it depends on a number of different things, because we often see leopards with broken teeth. It's not an uncommon thing. What have you heard? Where's the spotlight? Yeah, he stopped and he looked away. Let me get the spotlight and just shine in the distance to see if anybody's coming through. Maybe Hosanna's heard the crunching and has come running, like the equivalent of, banging the dog balls. That sort of tinny noise, and then normally the dogs come running. Right, and so it seems as though infrared is now the theme of the evening because the sun has gone down. Tumba is also in black and white.